As the class of 2025 wraps up their final exams, the spotlight turns to the pens down celebrations sweeping across the country. While many learners mark the end of their school journey with shirt signing or big parties, the Department of Education is urging caution, warning that these traditions often come with safety risks and misconduct, with some matriculants, instead of choosing to donate their uniforms and finish their 12-year journey on a positive note, we look at the culture of pens down and ask the department what message they have for this year's learners. Now, joining us for this conversation is Likho Bottoman, Director for Social Cohesion at the Department of Basic Education. A very good afternoon to you, Likho, and thank you so much for your time. So, Likho, every year we see pens down celebrations across the country. It's not a new thing. I mean, they're meant to be a fun moment to celebrate, but you know, the Inyobeni Tavern tragedy of 2021 is still unfortunately etched on many minds, and it does remain a painful reminder of just how quickly celebrations can turn into national disasters. From your perspective as a department, what are the biggest social and even safety risks associated with these kinds of celebrations that we see?
You know, Unati, I'm very happy that you're prefacing it with incidences like the one that we saw in Enyobeni. And I think this is not a new conversation for us as the Department of Basic Education with our young people, because in the life skills and life orientation subject at school, we've always spoken about youth risk behavior and what they need to do to protect themselves against youth risk behavior, and just ensuring that they preserve their lives, they delay debut on certain activities that are out there so that they can then reach their goals that they've set for themselves as we give them life orientation. And so we are very concerned because on the one hand, we don't want to stifle children because we understand the importance of celebrating this milestone because it's a big milestone for them. 12 years of schooling is no child's play. But at the same time, we know that there are other things that do not necessarily form part of what was conceptualized as a pens down activity, which are now coming to play. And unfortunately, because as a department, we are not there to, to protect them when they are at school, because these pens downs activities happen sometimes outside of the school, and we are not able to rely on communities and households to help us protect the children. And so the best thing to do is to maybe modify the concept and say, maybe there are positive ways of marking the end of this journey.
Yeah, and I want to talk about those positive ways because, as you say, you have to celebrate. I mean, they have been in school, most of them, for more than for 12 or more than 12 years. I mean, there is a need, to celebrate. Then speak to us about, as a department, of course, one of your roles is just entrenching and also promoting social cohesion. How does that look like, particularly at the end, of the schooling year for the learners?
Look, there are positive things that we could do as young people, and this is the message that we always send out to them. It's always nice to go out for lunches, to go out for picnics, and to, do things together, maybe go to theater, those who are close to theater, or maybe, having a supervised kind of a party where young people would be there, but there would be no alcohol and there would be no drugs or substance that is involved, just so that the celebration can be done. But we know, Unat, as I'm saying to you, that it's very difficult to contain the risks that come with these celebrations. And that's why you would find that there's a very strong message that says that maybe there shouldn't be any pens down parties that take place in communities, because we know then that that's where children are much more at risk of harm and that there is no supervision. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong about parents bringing together their children so that they can all celebrate together, and this can be supervised, and it happens at daylight as well. Unati, I don't think there's a need for young people to have an overnight celebration for something like this.
And that was going to be my next question in terms of What role do you think, parents and community members even should play around this particular matter, given the fact that there are, as you've listed, a number of other examples, positive examples that learners can do, maybe making a big deal out of donating their school uniforms to other learners, for instance, and also having those smaller celebrations, especially as the concern is that the school isn't really necessarily part of the engagements and arranging some of these parties that are playing themselves out in communities themselves.
Absolutely. And that's why our community partnerships have always been important, because the role that is played by community partners for basic education does not only emerge at a time like this. It has always been important for us to hold each other's hands, to have the same kind of messaging that goes to our children about what to do and what kind of activities to engage in and what kind of activities to avoid engaging in, so that that same message is sent out to children. Unathi, you'd be surprised at how some households actually do allow children as young as 15 and 16 to go out on drinking sprees, on parties that are not supervised, overnight, sleepovers, being picked up by people that parents do not know. And parents feel sometimes disempowered to bring that kind of strictness and caution when their children have to participate in these activities. And sometimes there is no control whatsoever, and these children do what they want because that's the setup at the at the household or at the home where they come from. Yeah. And so it's very important that those partnerships that we have invested in as the department and communities continue, especially during this time.
Yeah, and just talking about, those partners, particularly in your risky areas, do schools have, and communities, have those adequate structures in place to monitor high-risk venues or hotspots? I mean, we know they're across the board, where learners tend to gather after exams especially. And if not, what then is needed?
Look, we rely mostly on our school governing bodies. We also have created or established some partnerships with the Quality Learning and Teaching Campaign, where broader community stakeholders are brought on board to support our schools at a community level. More recently, you would have noted the work that we've done around the establishment of partnerships, even with the South African Police Service, so that we are tightening our hand in understanding these hotspots, and that we are tightening our hand in ensuring that the South African Police also help us to identify these risk areas in the communities where the schools are located. Because sometimes, as I said earlier on, Unathi, because these pens down activities are happening outside of the school, the Department of Basic Education doesn't have the full spectrum of understanding of where these places are. And members of the community stakeholders, and the South African Police are better placed to understand where these places are and to help us ensure that these places, there is high visibility of community stakeholders and the police in those areas so that our children are kept safe.
Absolutely. Likho, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. That is Likho Bottoman, Director for Social Cohesion at the Department of Basic Education. Essentially not saying that matriculants should not be celebrating, particularly after a 12-year school run, but also that the celebrations should happen in safe environments, encouraging parents and communities also to play a role.